And they saw they were naked, and they were ashamed, and they ran and hid. And all of a sudden, the first garment that I ever found in the Bible that we have any record of, it was not a blouson sweater like I've got on. It wasn't patterned hose, and it wasn't your little knit suits and blouses or your silk dresses. But the first thing that we have that any designer might have made, it was Adam and Eve, and they made, the Bible said, an apron, girls, and they covered themselves with a fig leaf, and the Bible called it an apron, because they were naked, and they were ashamed that they were naked after they partaken of the fruit. Well, when they hid in the garden, they heard the voice of the Lord came walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and they were afraid. And God said, Adam, wherefore art thou? And Adam was hid, and he said, Lord, I hid, I was afraid, because he knew he had sinned. He had transgressed the laws of God. And the Lord began to question him, how did you know you were naked? And I want you to read the whole story when you get home. And the Lord asked him why he did this, and he said, oh, this woman you gave me. Now, here we go, girls. This is the first big trial and accusation that ever came against us. This woman you gave me, instead of saying, oh, God, I know I shouldn't have done it because I'm the man and blah, 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 but I'll show you why he didn't. He said, the woman she gave me and I did eat, and then the Lord asked her why she did this, and read the whole story, and I'll tell you later. After they realized they were naked and they talked to the Lord, and the Lord began to tell them what was going to happen, they'd be driven from the garden. Let me skip over and read it to you. Let me read the 22. And the Lord said, the woman whom thou gavest to me with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. Now I want to skip down. Now, here's what I want to read to you. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. Now, I want you to hear that. I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception, and in sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Now, I want you to take note of something and write it down. Never in the scripture did God tell Adam prior to this that he would rule over his wife. He didn't say, God never said this until they fell and sinned against God. And then he said, in sorrow, Eve, you're going to conceive children in much pain. He never mentioned that until the fall. And then he said, you're going to hurt, you're going to suffer and travail and have your children. And your husband, he'll have rule over you. All of a sudden, they changed the whole rule of God. They were running through proud people, and Adam had this large ego, and proud and very strong. And all of a sudden, he was humbled in that God said, you're going to eat the dust of the earth. And you will earn your living by the sweat of your brow. You'll toil, and you'll crawl on your stomach. This was when they fell in sin. All of a sudden, the proud woman that had everything she needed was cursed to travail and bear children in much pain. And they were driven from the garden. The man began to toil in but the sweat of his brow. And this is where it really all began. Now, women, we're going to skip real quickly into Judges, the 16th chapter. And you can write this down if you'd like to. It doesn't really matter because you read it all when you get home. But women have always been the ones that turn the head of men. Now, a lot of our men don't want to hear this, but it's very true. We motivate, we move our husbands, we turn our husbands, we train them, we bring them up like our children. And my husband never gets upset if he hears me say that. Because we, even though they call us the weaker sex, we are the stronger in that we're the greatest of the communicators, right? And we do the most talking. Men just don't do a lot of talking. You notice that? We prime and we pump and we do everything to get them to communicate with us. But women have that little way. Now, Samson heard of this beautiful woman, Delilah, and he just really fell for her. He really did. Samson was this robust, macho man, if you describe him with like a 30 waist and a 52 chest, and the biceps, just could not look over him. They were so large. Huge, about 15 size shoe, I guess, something like that, I'm guessing. And he comes walking through, and the earth almost rumbles beneath him when he walks, and he's getting close to the gate. And the Philistines figured out a way to destroy old Samson. Well, Here comes the woman. Now, good or bad, we can be either good or we can be bad. We can be strong or we can be weak. Or we can be a macho lady or we can be a feminine lady that men just really love. And I'll share a little bit with you about that. They couldn't get to him. They threatened him. They said within their own little camp, we're going to kill him in the morning. We'll wait all night and while he's outside the gate. And while in the morning, while he's sleeping, we'll get up and we'll kill this threat to us. We'll kill old Samson. But in the middle of the night, Samson rises up, probably about midnight, the Bible said. He gets up. And he just walks to the gate. Now, I want you to notice this. Walks to the gate, sticks those big arms, those biceps through that wrought iron of the gate, kind of doubles his fist up like that, just folds up his arm and just picks the whole gate up off the hinges, puts him on his shoulder and takes him to the top of the hill. Now get him in your mind. Well, that's a man any woman could love, isn't it? And Delilah loved him, but she was plotting to get him killed. Well, he did love her because the Bible said he laid down and they were talking and probably, little sweet talk. Probably nothing like us in our courting days or like God knows, not like our kids court now, But they were courting and talking, and Delilah was figuring out, how can I find out where this man's strength lies? Well, she said, well, Samson, if you love me, you'll tell me where your strength lies. Oh, he says to jest, but she didn't know he was jesting. He said, I'll tell you what you do. If you'll get me some green withs that have not been dried and bind me in them, I promise you'll find out where my strength lies. Well, she did that. Some of the guards brought her in some of the green withs, and she bound him up. And all of a sudden, when he fell asleep, you notice how much God talked about when they're sleeping? He made woman, for man while Adam was asleep. Men's always getting caught when they're asleep. Samson's asleep. She said, oh, Samson, the Philistines be upon thee. Samson just woke up and yawned, and the withs just fell off of him. And she was highly upset. But you notice what she did? She didn't nag him or carry on. She just said, Samson, now, that wasn't good. That wasn't quite right. You didn't tell me the truth, Samson. Now, if you love me, you'll tell me where your strength lies. He said, okay. And he's laying in her lap, and these 7 locks laying over her lap, Probably tied in leather bows to keep it out of his face. But he was macho. She said, where does your strength lie? He said, well, I tell you what, if you take my 7 locks and weave them in a web, you'll find out where my strength is. And I'll just be like other men. So she did. She was lying there, sitting there, and he was lying there on her lap, and she was weaving his locks. And he fell again to sleep, taking lots of naps, wasn't he? And as he slept, she hollered, oh, Samson, darling, the Philistines be upon thee. He rose up and, once again stretched and was free. Well, she was getting highly upset. Once again, she thought, now I've got him twisted around my finger, and I think I can break him if I'm just patient. That's the way most of us girls are. Just hang on a little while. The 3rd time, she said, now, Samson, darling, please now. I really am getting a little impatient. I wish you would tell me. Now, there must be a secret of all the strength you have. Where does your strength lie? He said, okay, I'll tell you what. And he's really having a blast by now. He says, if you get brand new ropes that have never been used before and just bind me up good and tight, you'll find out that I'll be just like any other man. Well, she did it. The Philistines brought her the ropes, and she bound him tight. And all of a sudden, as he's sleeping again, she says, Samson, the Philistines will be upon them. He jumps and he rose and he breaks the ropes as though the Bible said they were thread. Well, again, now, by now, she's highly upset. She just sat down and said, now listen, Samson, if you really loved me, you wouldn't make a mockery out of me. You're mocking me. You're jesting and mocking. Now, I'm paraphrasing. That's what it does use most of what I'm telling you. You're making mock of me. Now, if you really do love me, you'll tell me where your strength lies. Now, the Bible said that he was just vexed to death in his spirit. Read it. See what it says. He was vexed. You know why he was? The Bible used the word because she pressed him. She pressed him. He got sick and tired of it. He just got tired of being pressed and pressed and pressed. He said, okay, I'll tell you what. If you just cut off the 7 locks of my hair, of my head, then I'll have no more strength. And if you know the story, you need to read the rest of the story. She had him twisted around her finger. Women have a way of doing that.